Welcome back, my subscribers. Today I'm talking about a very affordable, budget-friendly 85mm, the Viltrox 1.8. So over time, as a photographer, you buy and sell a lot of gear. You test out literally everything. You end up testing a lot of lenses, is what I'm trying to say, until you find the right fit for you. And you also try to find out, what do you actually use? Where can you cut costs? So in that stream of thought, the 85 is a focal length that I enjoy a lot. I think it's an amazing lens for portraits. It can really isolate your subject, and it really focuses attention to detail. It could be for a car, for a portrait, for product photography. It's a very versatile lens because you're very fixated with that point of view without it being overdone. And I would say the working distance is decent. It's not like a 135 or shooting at 200 where you do need to be across the room probably for some of these lenses. But 85 is still that in between where it's workable, you can get great results. And when you can get them at 1.8s, 1.4s, and 1.2s, you are really creating a very special look where the compression is just right. Whereas a 50, which is actually one of my favorite focal lengths, will do a lot at 1.4 or 1.2. And it will keep, the environment still there. It'll make your subject pop, and I love that. And 85 will basically annihilate your background if you are at the right distance from your subject. So with that in mind, do we want to annihilate the background? So that's one of the reasons I'm talking about this lens. So shooting 1.4, I've shot with Sony for so long. I've used the Sigma, the Samyangs, the Sony GM, the Sony 1.8. I think I've used all the 85s out there, except this one. I had not tested it. I think they've all been great in their own way. Some of them with issues that I just didn't like. Some of them didn't justify the money. I remember getting the G Master and just didn't like the autofocus speed or the tracking on it, even though it was an amazing lens and delivered. And if it's a lens that you don't use a lot, like it's in my case, I didn't really want to have a lot of money sitting in one lens, if you know what I mean. I'd rather use it for something else that I do need or need to invest in. So with that in mind, if the 85mm is not a primary lens, if the 85 is not a primary lens for you that you will actually use day to day, not like just have on the side ready to go in case you need it or once in a while, like is my case, I don't recommend spending a lot on an 85. So if it is your bread and butter, like they say, yes, get a G Master 1.4, but I would recommend more the Sigma DG DN 85 1.4. That lens is impressive. It is compact. The image quality coming out of that thing is amazing. It's so clean, so crisp, very modern, very perfect for those high resolution cameras that we have nowadays. I've had that lens, I've shot it, I've used it in crop mode, no issues with that lens. If you need an 85, get the Sigma. The price is right, you can get it used for like 800. It's a very good investment. But if you're like me and you don't use the 85 as much, 800 on a lens that you're not gonna use a lot is kind of a waste for me. Because what I'm looking for in an 85 is I want it to work, first of all, properly. I want it to be able to track autofocus. I want it to have a good look with the bokeh and the separation. That sounds like I want a perfect lens. But in reality, I just want to have the option. So when I'm looking at my lens lineup, if I'm going for a shoot, I'm thinking about what looks do I want to do for this particular shoot. There are times when I want an 85. And yes, I have 85 covered in a zoom lens, but it's at 2.8, so that's not gonna cut it all the time. I think 1.8 and better is usually a good place to start to make that separation of your subject pop. And 1.8 or better, you're usually looking at the lenses that are At 1.8 or better, you're looking at lenses that are made to perform very well and just have a very good reputation versus the everyday f2.8. I'm trying to kill a fly that just came in. Is this tracking me still? I'm using my dinosaur to kill a fly. Anyway, that is my rationale. So I sold my GM, that was a couple years ago, and then I tried the Samyang. I was like, you know what? I can still get 1.4, not spend as much. Let's try it. The first version of the 1.4 from Samyang is okay. I think it works if you're just shooting portraiture, nothing else that's moving or requires tracking. For something better, I would recommend trying a Samyang 85 version 2. I have not tried it, but I'm assuming it's better. So I gave up on that lens. I've used the Sony 1.8. I've bought and sold it twice. I just didn't like the busy back. To me, it felt busy. The separation, and when you look at the background and the bokeh, how it looks, I don't know. To me, it just didn't click. So I've gotten rid of it twice. I gave it a chance. I gave it a chance twice. So that landed me also with the Sigma, like I said, perfect lens. And that's probably why it was easy for me to get rid of. It's too perfect for me. I want something a little bit more old school. I like vintage lenses, so I'm always looking for certain things like that. I think the 1.4 from Sigma is just a great lens, but it's perfect. And I just didn't want that. And like I said, I wasn't using it a lot. If I did, I wouldn't mind keeping it because it's such a good lens. So that lands me here. Viltrox 85 1.8 version 2, because they made 2 as well. I'd say the size is not too different from the DG DN from Sigma. I think it's very close in size. I think it's lighter, so that's a plus. I think this lens feels good in the hand. It's solidly built. It feels solidly built. 1.8, you get that compression that you're looking for. A lot of people have reviewed this over the years, since this isn't a new lens, but I had never used it before. So I have updated the firmware to the latest because that's what everyone was recommending with this particular lens. And I've got to say that so far, and then again, this is my first impressions, I will do a long-term review on it and then let you know if I'm gonna, well, not long-term, but like longer than a week or two. And I'll let you know if I'm gonna get rid of it or not. The 85 is just a length that's not my primary lens. So to me, it's more trial and error until I find something I like. My other lenses, they're pretty much set. I don't really have to touch that. But with this one, the few shots that I've done over the last week or two, I'm actually very happy with them. I don't see any issues in the autofocusing. I'm getting pretty good colors. I mean, you can correct those. Sharpness, I think it's not overly sharp. It's similar to other lenses that I enjoy. It's not too sharp and it's not unsharp. I don't know what the term is. I think it's just right, the sharpness on this one. So that's a plus for me. I shot a couple of portraits, shot my cats, cars. I'm gonna do more testing with it. And so far, I think the sharpness is right where I want it. So far that's a plus for me. That makes me think that this one could be the 85 that I've been looking for. The size and weight, like I said, easy to carry. It doesn't stand out too much. You can still be low key. And the other thing is 1.8 versus 1.4. I know this battle has been going on for a long time. So when you're comparing 1.4 versus 1.8, there are times when people are using the 1.4, will go out to a park, to this awesome location, and then pull out an 85 1.4 or something around there and just remove the background. Like you won't even know where you're at. So I feel like that has its place and it's good, but a lot of people overdo that. And that's something I don't want to do because I am an outdoor shooter. I like shooting environmental portraits. I want to photograph the person in their in the place they're in, because sometimes it has a meaning to them, or you need to have a little bit of more context. I'm not doing any studio shot type work. I want the environment. That's the point for me. So sometimes at 85 1.4, if you're shooting like a quarter or half body shots, you're basically getting rid of the background. And I feel like a 1.8 might still get you really close to that, but it has that slight difference where you're not completely blurring everything out. You're still getting context. And I witnessed that when I was doing a sample shot, a testing shot, so with some cars, but at the same time I got a picture of the person getting out of their car, just like very candid. That's what I like to focus on, candid shooting. And I was able to get about half body, but because of the 1.8, I didn't completely eliminate the background. You can still see the car, you can still see some foliage. You're still putting the character in place. You're not completely taking them out of that environment to where you could have just done a studio shot and forget about the background. It doesn't matter where you go. So to me, as much as I love bokeh, I think 1.8 is a good middle ground when it comes to doing those type of shots. So I don't feel like I'll miss the 1.4 a lot. Watch me get the Sigma again. But in closing, I think this is a very good lens for those of you who are new to Sony or new to full frame Sony. I mean, I think you can get it in other mounts as well. I can't remember the other mounts, but whatever mount it's available for, if you're trying to get into 85mm lens, focal view, perspective, getting used to how it works, I think this is a good lens to test that out for those people, because it's better than a lot of 85mm out there. I think it's better than the Sony 1.8. It's better than the Samyang in several ways. It's light, it's compact, it's not chunky like those Samyang 1.4s. Some of them extend too far or too chunky or too heavy. This one's just right, I think. The other person that this lens is for those who don't want a perfect lens but still want something capable, something that delivers. So, for example, that Sigma 1.4 is an amazing lens, but it is very perfect and it costs a lot more. So if you're looking for something with a little bit less perfect, some of those character imperfections with still smooth bokeh, a lot of people are comparing it to very vintage, a couple of vintage lenses designs. While you're getting great autofocus, great contrast, the right amount of sharpening, not over sharpened, this is a great option. And if it's not your primary lens and you just want to have it available, like if I'm shooting with a 24 or a 35 or even something more telephoto, and I'm thinking of a shot that I need an 85, I can just reach in my bag and this will be there. And it's not as expensive, it's more replaceable. Easier to replace is what I mean, versus a $1,500 lens. Of course you get insured or whatnot, but I'm just saying like the value in that sense, or for the investment alone, where you could spend $1,000 on something else versus all-in-one lens that is not really your go-to. I think this is a good option. So I'll keep testing it. I'll put some sample shots. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know below if you've used this lens, if you like it. The lens hood's nice. It's very plasticky, so it's gonna scratch up really easy. I already dinged it, and I haven't even done anything crazy. But it works, it's there. Let me know down below if you like this lens, compare it to other lenses, or if you think you should just get the best of the best no matter what, even if you don't use it that much. Thanks for watching. Stick around.